There are things in this world that cannot always be explained with science. And sometimes these things don't just affect households, but entire cities and towns. The haunting of these places affect the people in them and our perceptions of those places. The cities can be found across the world, and they hold many mysteries. Here on Earthbound, we love exploring our planet and the strange places and things that are on it. So it's fitting today that we will be looking at places that have strange and otherworldly characteristics. So let's dive in. But before we begin, be sure to hit the like button to help us out. Now, here are 10 of the most haunted cities in the world. Number 10. Beijing, China. Our first stop is in China, which holds all sorts of mysterious cities, and Beijing is no exception. Not only is the city of Beijing haunted, but the city within the city known as the Forbidden City is reported to have some paranormal activity as well. It was the home of the royal palace for hundreds of years and was erected 600 years ago. Like most royal palaces, executions, assassinations, and other grisly acts were common. Since the 1950s, staff at the old imperial palace have reported seeing multiple ghosts, and one of the more famous ones is a crying woman wearing a white dress, and when staff tries to talk to her, she turns around, revealing she has no face. You might also find the Kaishiko execution grounds, which lie at an intersection in western Beijing. Chilling with a history going back to the Ming Dynasty. Hundreds of criminals, political rivals, and regular people were executed at that spot, and people in the area report seeing the restless spirits of those people roaming the streets at night. These are only a few of the haunted places in Beijing. There are a lot more chilling locations with paranormal activity scattered throughout the city. But now, we must move on to number 9, San Francisco, USA. Next up is San Francisco, which is famous for a lot of its haunted locations. One of the most well-known spots is Alcatraz Prison, which was a prison's prison, meaning that if you didn't follow the rules or were extremely violent in other prisons, you would be sent to Alcatraz. It housed gangsters like Al Capone and Whitey Bulger, and some of them might still be there because it's said that you can hear some of them to this day. One of the more famous spots within the prison is a cell where a prisoner died after screaming that a monster was going to get him, and tourists say they can still feel him in the cell with them. One of the other haunted spots in the city is at Stowe Lake in Golden Gate Park. A mother had lost her child in the lake and went in to look for her, never to return, and visitors at the park report seeing the mother with her baby at the lake to this day. There are plenty of haunted hotels within the city, and I would recommend visiting the Queen Anne Hotel as one to stop at if you visit. Sadly, we have to move on and look at number 8, Edinburgh, Scotland. Now we will look at Edinburgh, located in Scotland, which is home to a lot of supernatural spots, like Edinburgh Castle, underground vaults, and the most haunted graveyard in Scotland. One of the more lighthearted supernatural things in Edinburgh is in the Old Town. Here you might hear a bark but see no dogs. This is common in this area, and locals have stated that it's the ghost of a dog named Bobby who looked over his master's grave for years after he had died. You can see a statue of this loyal dog in the square. The underground vaults I mentioned are a labyrinth of tunnels underneath the city, with multiple ghosts reportedly being spotted. One of the favorite ghosts of the locals is that of a little girl named Abandoned Annie, who's said to reach out and grab your hand when you're in her area of the tunnels. The town has built an altar to her in the vaults, and hundreds of dolls and toys are arranged around it. Number 7. Prague, Czech Republic. Prague is where we'll be going next, and it's home to many scary stories and hauntings, and that's no doubt due to its age. One of its oldest and scariest sights isn't like any of the things on this list so far, because it's not a ghost, it's a mummified arm hanging from the Church of St. James the Greater. You can see this arm hanging from the church by a meat hook, and the legend is that it is the arm of a thief who tried to steal from a statue of St. Mary, and let's just say she didn't let his arm go. One of the other haunted spots in Prague is the famous Hauska Castle, which lacks all basic amenities and access to roads. Local legend is that there was a bottomless pit, thought to be the gateway to hell. The locals had put prisoners into the pit and pulled them out to find they had aged 30 years. So, they built a castle over it to seal this gateway, and the people have seen ghosts and creatures in the castle ever since. There are many more demonic and ghastly sights in Prague, including the Faust House and Prague Castle. But we must move on to number 6, London, UK. London is a very old, large city, so it's most certainly haunted, and that's why it is up next. One of the oldest and most haunted places in London is the Tower of London, which was a prison for the worst of the worst, or political enemies, and several historical figures have died, including King Edward V, Guy Fawkes, and Anne Boleyn. In fact, several ghosts have been spotted by multiple people within the tower, including Boleyn, who was the beheaded wife of King Henry VIII, as well as Guy Fawkes. There's the 10 Bells Pub, which was around when Jack the Ripper was on his reign of terror, and multiple victims are linked back to the pub. Some of the victims were murdered near the pub, and people have reported seeing apparitions on the sidewalk outside the pub. You could also visit the old Operating Theater Museum, which is one of the oldest operating theaters dating back to the mid-1800s. And with the number of patients who lost their lives, it goes without saying that people have seen spirits there. There are countless haunted pubs, murder sites, and strange sites within the city that really gives the city an eerie feeling. We're now halfway through our video. If you're still with us, comment a ghost emoji below. Number 5. New Orleans, USA. Now we're back in America at New Orleans, which is notoriously one of the most haunted and superstitious places in America. Ever since the founding of Louisiana, black magic and voodoo have been a staple of the city, due to African slaves and their culture being brought over from Africa. You can find countless voodoo shops, psychics, and voodoo doctors, all of which are practices that have been around since the city's founding. This is all embraced by the residents of the city, giving it a very mysterious veil. The city also boasts one of the most haunted cemeteries in the United States, being the St. Louis Cemetery. Many people have seen spirits walking by the mausoleums in the cemetery, and you could stop in the nearby St. Louis Cathedral, where people have reported seeing a ghostly pastor walking between the pews. This is only scratching the surface of the city. There are tens to hundreds of haunted restaurants, homes, and hotels. All share one thing. They have tragic backstories that haunt them and the people within them to this day. But now we must move on to more haunted cities. Number 4. Baguio, Philippines. We are now stopping in the Philippines, or more specifically Baguio. Like a lot of the islands in the Pacific, the Philippines were ravaged in World War II. That is what sets this apart from most of the other cities on this list. This city's hauntings are believed to be caused by events that occurred in the last century. One of the most haunted places in the country is there, and it is the Diplomat Hotel, which was the site of a massacre. When the Japanese had taken the city, fleeing priests and nuns were rounded up and decapitated there. Many people report hearing ghastly screams and seeing headless apparitions walking through the halls. What makes it eerier is the hotel manager actually died there of a heart attack. There's also the Laperal Mansion, which shares a similar backstory to the hotel, in that Japanese soldiers during World War II massacred civilians there. The mansion now has security guarding it, and it is widely known in the area that the house has restless spirits and that you can hear them walking at night. There are a lot of sad places within Baguio that hold similar stories and share similar hauntings, but one cannot deny that there is something tragic and mysterious about the city. Number 3. Rajasthan, India. We're now going to Rajasthan, India, which holds a long history of magic, curses, and ghosts. One of the most haunted places in Rajasthan is the Kuldhara village, which is an abandoned village that is cursed. The village was abandoned in the 1800s due to a minister threatening the entire village with increased taxes if the chieftain didn't wed his daughter to him. So, the entire village abandoned the village and cursed it so that no one would be able to live there again, and people can see ghosts walking through the houses and footprints when people haven't been there. Another quick scary fact is that people are forbidden from entering the village after dark due to these hauntings. One of the other cursed locations is the Bangar Fort, which was cursed in the 1600s by a magician who had tried to use a love potion on a woman who then poured it on a rock. The rock then rolled and crushed the magician, and with his dying breath he cursed the fort to never be lived in again. And to this day the fort is deserted, and people hear screams and footsteps. There are many cursed locations within Rajasthan, but we must move on. Number 2. SIGHISOARA, Romania. SIGHISOARA is one of the most famous haunted cities, and you may not know the city, but you should know the legends and myths surrounding the town. Vlad the Impaler was actually born in SIGHISOARA, and because of Vlad's reputation, the myth of the vampire was born there. Due to it being Dracula's birthplace, one of the most famous tourist spots is Casa Vlad Dracul, which is reportedly the home of Vlad and is now a museum to him, holding many strange and scary artifacts. The town is a time capsule to medieval times, and walking through the town, residents and visitors report seeing ghostly figures walking through the streets under candlelight. One of the other haunted spots is the SIGHISOARA Clock Tower, which acted as a guard tower to the town's citadel, which then got turned into a prison, then a torture museum. Many people still hear strange noises and see strange figures within the clock tower. The entire town gives a strange feeling, and walking around at night, you might think that a vampire will leap out of an alley and take you away. But we must move forward. You're nearly at the end of our video. We're on a mission to explore all of Earth's scariest destinations. Make sure you're subscribed, that way you'll always be notified of our latest videos. Number 1. Paris, France. The final stop is known as the City of Love, but it holds hidden darkness that many of you are probably aware of. The big thing that most people are aware of is the catacombs underneath the city. It's a labyrinth underneath the city that holds the remains of hundreds of people. Due to the maze-like layout of the catacombs, people get lost down there very often, never to be seen again. One of the more supernatural beliefs on the catacombs is that it is a gateway to hell and should be avoided, and I'd say I definitely agree with that last part. Moving to the surface, you can find more horrors, with one of France's favorite things for hundreds of years, beheadings. You can actually find the execution spot of King Henry XVI, which is just a spot on the sidewalk. Actually, France used the guillotine for public executions until 1977. Many people report seeing ghosts of the beheaded across the city, and it has no shortage of haunted buildings. So when you're walking through the City of Love, remember that you're walking on the blood-soaked ground, and some of the blood is fresh. The real horror and haunted nature of not just Paris, but all the cities we've mentioned, is that horrifying and tragic events did happen there. So you should feel scared or uncomfortable. With Paris taking the #1 spot, we've come to the end of our video. Thanks for watching. Want to suggest a video or have something to say? Let us know in the comments section below. Check out our cities playlist for more videos like this one.